Corruption, the biggest unsolved state problem up until now. According to Regulation Number 31, year 1999 about corruption eradication, corruption is defined as the acts against the law with the intention of enriching oneself, others, or corruption which results in harm to the state or to the country's economy. In more general terms, corruption is a form of dishonesty or a criminal offense that is undertaken by a person or an organization that is entrusted with a position of authority in order to acquire illicit benefit or abuse power for one's personal gain.
Corruption comes in a variety of ranges and could happen not only for adults, but also during someone while they're at school, starting from time corruption, cheating in any forms, and the worst and the main topic of our research is money corruption. Familiar example of time corruption during school is skipping classes. Since skipping classes means we are acting out of obligation, which is going to school and gain knowledge, adding to possibilities of lying to parents about the reason why we are skipping classes and prioritizing personal satisfaction rather than compulsory education. Another example of corruption would be taking advantage of cheating while having an exam. One concrete example based on personal experience would be the distribution of national examinations answer. There are a lot of parties which sells the answer and a buyer must pay for the answer. Students do not care about the value of integrity, in which in their opinion is not the most important aspect in an examination, and instead cares more about their academic score. On the other hand, school does not act strictly regarding this situation, as the higher their students' score are, the respective school's accreditation will also be high and school gains advantage from this. Money corruption during school is also a very common situation which most of us do not realize. Manipulating class money is a serious example that what we must be aware of. Class money usually are managed by class treasurer, and therefore most people do not have any idea of how much money are spent or collected. A bad class treasurer would be taking advantage of holding class money and keep them personal for their own profit.
In Indonesia, there are so many corruption cases and some of it was done by younger people. For example, corruption case of Waode Nurhayati, where she bribes about the allocation budget of regional infrastructure adjustment funds, or in bahasa Indonesia, dana penyesuaian infrastruktur daerah, and money laundering. Indonesia suffers 2.3 trillion rupiah because of her, and she's only 30 years old, which is quite young compared to many other corruptors.
Another example is M. Nazarudin, an ex-member of Democrat Party Indonesia. On 13 June 2011, he was caught bribing the development of SEA Games Athlete House, or Wisma Atlet SEA Games. He also flew to many countries with a fake passport, before finally being caught on Colombia. Based on these examples, we can see that the age of corruptors, they are starting to get younger and younger.
In conclusion, corruption is a form of dishonesty that abuses the power of authority to gain personal benefit. Corruption could happen at all ages and may develop from an early age, such as developing corruptive behavior at school. Doing trivial things in school, such as skipping classes or cheating on tests, are the kind of things that often encourages corruptive behaviors. Oftentimes, students that has this kind of behavior gets away unscathed, which encourages them even further to do corruptive things, and then this behavior will stick to them until later on in life. We can see from the case that we mentioned before that it is in fact true that there are younger and younger people who do corruption. If this keeps happening, our country will suffer a great deal of damage. Even small forms of corruption, if not treated, could stockpile and eventually ruin this country. So everyone who has corruptive behaviors or has done corruption, no matter how big or small it is, should be punished and educated so that one day this country could be rid of corruption.
So the main question right now is, how do we punish and educate any people that do corruption? First thing first is we need to prevent that kind of behavior in the first place. To do that, we need to educate our young generation with risk and danger of corruption. We also need to make more harsh punishment for students that do plagiarism. The next thing we should do is to create more stricter rule about corruption. The corruption case that often get caught is the case that involves a lot of money. So most small corruption usually get ignored. Not to mention that most police and investigators that cause corruption get bribed so easily. And the last thing is there should be a longer sentence for corruptor, just to make it riskier to do a corruption to the point they might didn't do it at all.